What is going on, everybody? Sorry again for all these technical difficulties. It just seems like everything's hitting at the same time, so I do apologize for that, but appreciate y'all's patience and, sticking around and, tuning in with us. Again, we got a fun conversation here. Again, one way or another, we're gonna stick through this, and we're gonna get rolling here so that way we can have this conversation because it is gonna be a really great one. Just again, unfortunately, they had all these technical difficulties ran into all at the same time. But, with that being said, though, so again, we were kinda talking a little bit about the Holiday Bowl here, but, again, before we jump back into it, make sure again, for all those tuning in here with us to, make sure to comment to us, so let us know who's joining us. I know, Old State Fan and, Daniel and Greg and all of them were joining us, so if y'all are tuning back in with us, please, comment, let us know you're here. Would, love to hear from y'all again. With that being said, though, so again, we were talking a little bit about the Holiday Bowl here, and obviously the shocking news of it for sure, of it all going down like this. But obviously, one of the first things I want to talk about, and I see people coming in, Hunter and Beck. Well, thank you guys again for tuning back in with us. Thanks, Greg. Obviously, the biggest thing, first of all, is I was definitely very again, I was very pleased, first of all, how it was handled on our end. I think that for the most part, it was, it was first of all thinking about the seniors and the players, because obviously that's the biggest bummer of this all is, for the players that were ready to play, their last game or ready to play the game in general, and couldn't happen. So definitely unfortunate for them. But also too, I know that a lot of people were kind of salty at Boo Corrigan, specifically after the Pac-9, Pac-13 situation. But to see how he handled this, where it seemed like he was very transparent with the football team, it seemed like he was very willing to talk about it. Whether it's to the media or whoever it is, to make it very clear that we're working on this, try to see if we could find a new team. I think that was kind of the biggest thing, that biggest positive piece I got out of it was how Boo handled that situation. I mean, would you guys kind of, I guess I'll hand it to you first. Would you kind of agree with that synopsis as well?
Yeah, and that was straightforward. He handled it well, or the athletic department handled it well. I mean,
Mhm.
definitely seemed very. At least maybe they didn't handle it well last time, where they didn't communicate it as well, and then they learned from it and realized we have to have good optics here.
Mhm.
But the idea that like within immediately they were starting to I think at one point they had contacted at least 10 teams they had stated, and I'm sure they contacted more. Um,
Mhm.
I think it was also a little bit too was to know there was some passion behind Dorn and Corrigan, with the fact that Corrigan was like, it's shocking or it's frustrating. I can't remember the word he used there, but he was more, I won't say emotional. And obviously, you as an AD, you want to be, have your stuff together, and you don't want to come across like you're unchecked and you don't have it all together. But I thought he did it well. I thought he handled it well. He communicated it well. You could see there was a personal level of invested emotion there. So,
Yeah.
just really hate that it couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Really bummed out about that. Would have
Yeah.
loved to have seen the national stage State could have had on Fox to
Mhm.
go and play a team. I think that would have been the game to watch that day. I think like
Yeah,
Minnesota and West, or somebody mentioned West
West
Virginia or
Virginia were
somebody like
later,
that
yeah.
played, and that was a good name game. But I thought State UCLA would have been a primetime 8 o'clock game on Fox, which is a basic cable station, and it's missed opportunity. And I feel like those kind of things happen. But again, passion behind Corrigan's comments, and clearly Dave Dorn's. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead, Michael. Do you
think
have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I think what made this a little bit different is that, we weren't the team with COVID issues this time, right? In terms of
Mhm.
baseball, it was basically we were down players, so
Yeah.
it was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But at this point, everything we were ready to play, so it was a little bit easier I
Mhm.
think for Boo to stand up and said what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I know, first of all, I'm happy to see Hunter said that, Boo won him back, which is awesome. But then Greg even kind of mentions as well that, again, the one thing which I want to say when it comes to the College World Series is that, first of all, I mean, obviously, at the time when that happened back in June, he was on the job for 6 months. Now, not necessarily saying like this was his first HD job, because it wasn't. He was an Army beforehand, so I mean he has experience. But the one thing which I want to say too is, again, I mean, I can't even imagine a tougher situation than the College World Series situation, because there's just so many aspects to it, whether it's not only how big of a situation it is, because it's obviously it's for a national championship, but also too because it's not only talking about the health and safety of the players and the staff, but also too is talking about something that at the time, we didn't know a ton about necessarily per se. Now, I mean, again, I'm not here necessarily defending necessarily how the NCAA handled the entire situation, because I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the biggest issue which I had was that, so how are you going to pull players out of the game when you're having a stadium full of people that you're not testing, you're not doing any of that with? So I'm not necessarily defending the NCAA. I'm just defending from Boo's side that I almost understand now that maybe why he was a little bit held back on maybe talking too much, because it is such a high visibility. I mean, not only a high intensity because of the big of the situation, but also to the high visibility. I mean, even Dave Portnoy was, who's Mr. Barstool himself, was following all of this. So literally, whatever was said or whatever is done is seen by millions and millions and millions of people across the country. So I get it to an aspect. And so the one thing which I think, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Winston Lohman said to us, comments to us, saying is that at the end of the day, let's hopefully take it as that a learning point more than at least from a state fan's perspective. And then let's see,
Mhm.
hopefully this is kind of the new norm. Hopefully what we saw in the Holiday Bowl is the new norm. That's
Yeah.
that's the hope. But again, my heart goes out, first of all. But Michael, go
And
ahead.
you mentioned something else that I think is important there, is that with the baseball team, it was basically the NCAA making the call and saying we couldn't play this. It was UCLA withdrawing themselves. And then, so the NCAA really wasn't involved that much with the football. So that, I think that's another reason why.
Yeah. Now the one thing too, which I want to mention, and Megan, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. So, did we get 10 wins in 2021?
Good question. 9.5.
I mean, if you're a lover of the game, you would say no, because you want to go out there and win it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, do I think State has an argument for 10 wins? Yeah, I do. I think
Absolutely.
when they bailed that late last minute,
Yeah.
and a lot of other bowl games are doing the same thing, then yeah, I kind of see it that they did that way. They can,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I mean, you like, to me, a win is earned on the field. That's just me. I mean, like, again, unless it's a forfeit, but again, which is what this should be considered.
Mm-hmm.
It feels silly to me as a State fan to go and say, "Hey, we got 10 wins," and brag about it, when really it's like, okay, well, you only played 9 games or 12 games. You won 9 of them on the field. So it almost feels like it, to me. Here's the way I look at it: if Carolina were to do the same thing, I would laugh at them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would be like, you guys, like, come on,
Insane.
you didn't win 10 games. You just
Right.
got lucky. And that's the kind of the way it is. What we I won't say got
course.
lucky, but it just happened that way for us. And
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
infuriating as your State, and like Dave
Yeah.
Doran and the team was furious about it, and they should be. And I think the rules moving forward should make it that in a regular bowl game, no matter what it is, it should be that if a team wants to leave a game, then you give the trophy to the team, which
Yeah.
State has a trophy. State's got the win in their mind, and they're going to go, and they can still use that in the recruiting trail. It's not going to hurt them, but it's,
Yeah.
again, I want to see him win on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially, I mean, so I kind of look at it in this way. I kind of look at it as like it's not necessarily. I mean, like it's a partial for me. Now, the one thing which I will say also too, to kind of add into the situation, is the Wake Forest situation where they played Rutgers, where yeah they have 11 wins, but again I kind of look at it as like they
Yeah.
have like 10.9 wins, because I mean again let's be real. I mean Rutgers, it was a toss up for them. I think they went into that game like a 16-point favorite or something like that. So I mean it was basically just a layup for them to just monster mash it. That's so I kind of look at Wake Forest having 10.9 wins. Now, do they technically deserve 11 wins? Yeah, because they actually won 11 games. But for us, but first of all, I do gotta say, Salty Dave is the best Dave. Let's be real.
That's great.
That needs to be on a T-shirt somewhere for sure. I'm sure it probably is. But
to me, he just embodies State. Kind of like, I mean, people would joke it's kind of like I feel like, I mean, obviously he got fired, but I thought Ed Orgeron really embodied LSU. I think Nick Saban really embodies Alabama. I think I'm trying to think another coach who embodies a certain. Heck, I even think Mike Leach really fits in at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dave Doran just gets it. And like I think, Beck Wolfpack 813 just said, he says it straight up. And State fans appreciate that. We're blue collar school. He said that. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I think he's learned to do that too. Like he knows that's what State fans want to hear.
Yeah.
Not that he's just saying it, but I think he is that way too. And he knows he'll get the support.
Yep, they had Oklahoma State coach. Right. Bob Stoops fit in very well when he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Roy Williams at Carolina. I mean, it fits.
Yeah. No, and again, it's still a lot to build off of for next year. Honestly, I think that obviously we learn now that Bam is going to the draft, which not really too much of a surprise there. Icky obviously ended up getting announcing he's going, but still is a huge shocker to me that he honestly was going to play. But I was thrilled. But I mean, definitely, part of me watched that Ole Miss game last night, seeing Matt Corral get injured during the game and going,
yeah.
Oh, that's the negative, So that'd just be the worst case scenario if Icky some way got injured, during the bowl game. But yeah, definitely, I think Beck Wolf just said it best. Basically, puts a chip on our shoulder for next season to really prove a point. And again, take it into our own hands. Let's not wait until the bowl game, to make a achievement, get that 10th win. Let's during the regular season, let's win it all and win ACC championship that they can't deny. Same thing with baseball. Hey, they took it from us last year. Well, let's go earn it this year. It's a chip on our shoulder thing, which I love. But but again, at the end of the day, it was still an absolutely hugely successful season. I definitely think this was an awesome season that State fans, any State fan that watched this or was participating in this is going to talk about and keep in mind for a long time. So Just Cook said, "Happy New Year, everyone." Yeah, Happy New Year. Absolutely, totally forgot that this is our first one since the New Year. So Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a great holidays. So Michael, do you have anything to add? I know you took a breath in there, so I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add there.
No.
Okay.
You hit it. You hit it on.
Okay, cool. Sweetness. So now the big thing which I wanted to kind of talk about here. I know that people will. It was a highly talked about tweet that we put out there talking about Sam Howell. And basically, there's a lot of obviously, I guess, split thoughts on it. The biggest two really is that either an agreement or more of necessarily, well, is what UNC just did with Sam Howell what we did with our quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, Russell Wilson, Mike Glennon, Ryan Finley, et cetera, et cetera. So, I wanted to kind of take an opportunity here and kind of talk about that here and kind of dive through it a little bit. So when you hear the phrase, that Sam Howell's career was wasted at Carolina, what's your initial thoughts on that without diving too deep? Kind of give us like a kind of synopsis here on that.
Reason why I say that is I wouldn't compare Howell to say a Mike Glennon. I would compare him. His impact is the same kind of impact you would expect like a Russell Wilson or Phillip Rivers to have had.
I agree with that. I feel like
kind
those are the only two.
Yeah, I kind of put it in that kind of ballpark. And, my thing is the expectations of those NC State teams, I don't think were top 10 in the country. And with Carolina, everybody and their brothers said they were going to be top 10. And I like I said, I didn't think that personally because I didn't know how they would make up all that. But I think when you look at the collapse Carolina had, you could maybe argue that last year for Sam Howell, being that they did a lot with him, didn't get to the championship, and didn't really do what they needed to do. But I don't know. I thought this year it was a bigger collapse when you compare it to our state teams of the past. There is a debate there. Sure, it's fine, but I do think the collapse was much greater.
Well, and the one thing as well, so here, let me go ahead and make my case here for why I say it was wasted. So I saw here an article basically saying that Sam Howell ranks 5th all time right now in the Atlantic Coast Conference history with 10,283 career passing yards, behind only Philip Rivers, Kenny Pickett, Taj Boyd, and Ryan Finley, all of whom were 4 or 5 year players in college. But Sam Howell was only there for 3. So arguing basically that if he came back another year, which we know now he's not going to, he could pass and be number 1 all time in passing yards. And then on top of that, so the only other players that were here for 3 years were the stars such as Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence's. But also too, Howell had 92 career passing touchdowns, which is 3rd in the ACC history and are most ever in the ACC with a quarterback that has had 3 seasons or less. So basically, I'm making an argument here almost, which is crazy to say, that Sam Howell could be considered the greatest ACC quarterback, statistically, that the ACC has ever seen. Again, I'm saying statistically. I know, again, I mean, everybody's might bounce back there, but again, statistically, it shows that. Again, even when you watch him, again, that dude's a stud. There's no doubt that dude is a stud. Even though he wore the other team's, colors that we don't want to talk about, respect is there. That dude is a real deal. And so again, but this is also a guy. So with all of that, this is a guy that played on a team that during his 3 years where he played every single game, well, most every game. Again, he sat out. Yeah, again, what was it, the nobody game, Furman or something like that this year. But that he had 6 wins, 7 wins, and 8 wins. So never got above 8 wins in any one of his 3 seasons. So I'm more of saying that, again, that basically, unfortunately, Mack Brown didn't take the opportunity and build around him and get better and better each year. So that way, hopefully this year, that they could have taken full advantage, especially with a weaker ACC this year, and gone to win it all. I mean, for them not to make it again, I mean, and not to make it at least the ACC championship game this year for me is kind of the huge missed opportunity there. So that's kind of my reasoning behind, my saying that his career was wasted. But again, it's I completely see that. And the words I would use for specifically guys like a Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon to me is a quarterback that when I look back at him, I say we did not take full advantage of him. We did not take full advantage of him. We could have done so much more with him. And same thing with like a Philip Rivers. We should have won ACC championship with Rivers. That's a given. But also, I would even argue the ACC was much more competitive during Philip Rivers' time as well. There was a lot more teams that were really competitive, nationally during the ACC though during those years.
Yeah, I'd compare more to how State did with Russell Wilson than with Rivers, because Rivers, I mean, his junior year we still got 11 wins and beat Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl. That was and that's considered their best season of all time for State, even though we didn't win in the ACC championship. But I would compare it more to Russell Wilson, who, I think he had 8 wins and 9 wins, and those were his 2 best years. And we didn't make it to an ACC championship either. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. It's like a tough question because he's the best quarterback they've ever had, but also he's still just one player.
Well, and here, let me say this as well, because one thing which I'll say with other quarterbacks, especially with NC State, is that I feel like with every single one of our quarterbacks, that from the time that they got to NC State to the time they left, they made an impact on the program.
Yeah.
They took it to a different level in some sort of fashion, whether
Mhm.
it is making the program greater, giving it more national prominence, whatever it is. But the one thing which people argue that Sam Howell gave UNC is putting them back in the national main stage, or putting them back in national prominence, which I'm like, I
I
would
mean,
say
he
honestly
did, but
more.
then they didn't live up to those expectations.
Right, exactly, and then they basically said, "Yeah, well, you shouldn't have given us those expectations." So
Yeah.
so basically just threw it right back at him saying, "It's your fault, not ours." So I would say that I kind of put it more on Mac Brown in that aspect, because I think that, yeah, if Mac Brown could have just kept his mouth shut, then maybe you could say that, yeah, it basically somehow in my eyes basically took him from being embarrassed, of a sense, basically being under the last couple of years of Larry Fedora,
Yeah.
to
No, I
being
agree.
in the middle of the ACC. But I wouldn't necessarily say they got into national prominence, maybe like during the times of the Julius Peppers and stuff like that, necessarily per
Right.
se. So uh, so Macon, do you have anything to add to that at all? I
No,
know
I
we
mean,
talked a
I
bit.
I'm just not a. I do think Hal made an impact on Carolina. I think he mentioned, like you said, he had he he was a nationally talked about guy. I just again I just think the hype that he had, he's a Heisman contender, everybody thought. And nobody said that about Russell Wilson, I don't believe. And nobody said that about
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers, I don't believe. And that's where I feel like the to the degree that how and Carolina with Mac Brown collapsed is what made, like, last year they had a great year for them. But um I mean they, like, I think Greg pointed out over here, it didn't he never progressed really, like he just didn't.
Mhm.
And when you have that kind of hype, the nation is looking at you and you don't do it. I mean, the recruits will come because of Sam Howell. He'll always be able to walk back. Everybody's gonna be like, man, that's Sam Howell. But
Yeah.
it's not going to have what everybody thought it would have been for Carolina. So that's all my only 2 cents. I think it's more similar to Russell Wilson than anybody.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like Russell Wilson didn't get Heisman talks until he was
Right.
kind of already at Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, he underachieved more than them, but he also achieved a lot of great things too. So it's like it's hard to. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the one thing too, which I'll say, when it comes to Greg's comment about him degressing or whatever it may be, is that first of all, I mean, so looking at his stats, so he threw in 2019, he threw 3,641 yards, but he only ran for 35 yards. In 2021, he threw for 3,056 yards, but ran for 828 yards.
Yeah.
So meaning that, again, all-purpose yards, he actually had a better year this year than his freshman year. But
Yeah.
but I also would argue as well that the talent this year was probably the worst that he's had over
Mhm.
his 3 years as well. So which again is it's for me is kind of like a Russell Wilson kind of scenario right now with Seattle, where it's like basically everybody's saying Seattle, listen, you are wasting Russell Wilson's prime years
That's a
right
great
now
point. That's a great
with
point.
not much around him, so you're
Mhm.
wasting it. Like, you're going to miss out soon if you don't
Very similar to
jump
that.
up quickly. So, which again, like the fortunate situation for NFL is that you have more time, but while with college football, you only have a couple years to really take advantage, kind of hit while the iron's hot. So
And
it's
that's what
kind of
I
funny
think
that.
is good, is
Yeah.
awesome about the transfer portal, because if you really want to go take a run at something and get guys in that are like proven now, you can. And I don't think Mac Brown's really done that well at Carolina. I think that's one thing that he probably could do better at, which I'm glad he's not. And I think, to Dave Doran's credit,
Mhm.
Dave Doran has really utilized it well. And if you think about all the players he's brought from the transfer portal, it's been starters. Cyrus Fagan was a
Mhm.
starter. You got Joe Selfo, the offensive line a few years ago. This year, you've got I forgot the Derek Pitts from Marshall, Corey Durden. I mean, all these. I mean, I feel like that's what you would want to do with Howell, but he didn't. So you're relying on guys who are young and unproven. He did get Ty Chandler from Tennessee as a running back, and Ty Chandler had a great year. Yeah, Greg, I mentioned Durden a second ago. You're right, for state, that was great. But I just I like your analogy, Leighton, about Seattle. That is a
Mhm.
good analogy, I think.
Yeah, because again, I mean, I think that honestly, that Russell Wilson, in terms of talent wise, is one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I just think that just between what's around him and between, basically how they're using him, that he's kind of limited right now. But and then Hunter says, shout out to John Madden. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Heart hits to the heart for sure with that loss for sure with
He
John
lived a long,
Madden.
good
But
life,
again,
though. That's what he lived a long, good life.
indeed. Well, and it's one big
85.
thing too. I heard in his speech, I think it was from his Hall of Fame inductee speech, where he was talking about how they have all the bus heads in Canton, Ohio, like on the
Mhm.
wall, and they're all facing each other down this one hallway, and he was basically making a statement saying that after all the fans and the workers have gone home, after everything's locked up, that he believes that the the bus heads talk to each other, and he was like, I can't wait till one day where I can join that conversation and hear that conversation and be a part of that conversation with legends, upon
Right.
legends in the NFL. And I'm like that. So that's one thing that kind of makes my heart warm, is that hopefully right now during this time, where everything's done and locked up, that hey, he's having some pretty awesome conversations right now with some legends in the league. And also just
Yeah.
Cook mentions Betty White as well. Yeah, I mean, 99 years old. It's
Big
tough to
time
be
NC
too.
State fan, Betty White.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Pretty sure
That's
she
right.
said "Go Pack" with her last words. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, but jumping back in here, so yeah, I mean, it's just basically that. I mean, hey, the one thing which I will say is that I think that there's no doubt that Sam Howell is by far the greatest quarterback that UNC has ever had, for sure. I mean, because I mean, even looking statistically, that basically I think like the next quarterback to him was basically TJ Yates, and I think that all of us would say that TJ Yates was good, but he
Hey,
wasn't a stud. I mean, hey, and he went 0-4 against us, so that's all I'm gonna say about that.
yeah.
Um,
Hold on, I
but
gotta address something.
go
Justin
for it.
Cook, if Russell Wilson ever goes to the Panthers, someone needs to slap him because they're not anywhere near as competitive, or they're just as bad as the Seahawks right now, if not worse. So let's continue.
Well, they're they're in just as much of a what is going on right now kind of situation.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. Um, so kind of jumping in here. So want to obviously talk a little bit about basketball here, and I know obviously Michael and I were part of the watch party, um, watching, excuse me, the what game we watched, the Miami game, and then obviously
Miami.
the
Yep.
Florida State game happened yesterday. And then also to make sure, again, we have our watch party here on Tuesday. So we'll be live about 6:45. The game starts at 7. So make sure to tune with us then. As again, we'll react. We'll watch. Live. We'll discuss it live, all in person. So make sure to join us then. But obviously 7-7, less than ideal. But I mean, obviously, Sebron went off last night. To basically just add on to his amazing stats he's had so far. And then Old State Boy reminded me about Trubisky. Yeah, I agree. Trubisky's number 2,
Yeah.
Yates number 3. So that, yeah, good point, Old State Boy. But obviously I know we hadn't really had a chance to talk to you about it since Michael and I were on the Miami game. So what
Yeah.
are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I had to go back and rewatch the Miami game to a degree, but it just kind of seems to me like the story, just like with the Florida State game, State has got to figure out who the answers are besides basically off their bench, and who if they can get the other guys going. It's just like, and it seems like we're like right there at the end. It's just I don't know if we're just choking, but we're just
Not finishing.
you're not finishing. Like, you're relying on Darian Sebron. I mean, we did the same thing with TJ Warren one year, and that didn't really go so great. And we tried the same thing with
Mhm.
Cat Barber the one year, and that didn't really go so great. And so I mean, it's just I think State's going to have to, the other guys like Thomas Allen, Breon Pass, Duanas, you got to, if you can, but mainly, more importantly, Morcell and Helms. Those guys are going to have to start stepping up. I mean, like the Florida State game recently, like day or two ago. What did Turquavian have? 20, 23, something like that, and then
Mhm.
and then Sebron had 32. It's just, I mean, you can't win with just 2 guys. I mean, you can't,
Oh,
and no matter how good those guys are, and you need to have the other guys scoring, 8 points a game, 9, 10
And
points a game to be able to do that, and it's just they're not doing well. Yeah, the haircut. No, I don't agree with that for Helms. Helms' haircut, it looks like he did when he came in. So, but it's
he played
I
well in the Miami game with the haircut.
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
he's
We were,
fine.
Florida State.
It's not the hair. But it's just they don't have any like bench scoring right now. They don't have really like the third option is not really scoring well. The fourth option is not really scoring well. It's really your top two. Maybe occasionally Helens will have a big game, and that's about it. But usually the game that Helens has a big game, Smith does not have a good game. So
Yeah.
it's really the two guys, and we play defense, but they're killing us inside, as every team should. They should take it right at us in the paint. I think we had something like 50 points in the paint against us, 40 something against us, and
Mhm.
it was
good.
just that's the reason why I think we're losing. And I think it's pretty obvious. It's
yeah.
it's the lack of resistance in the paint, and it is a lack of scoring beside anybody else except Darian and Turquavian. I mean, and sometimes Helms.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, in here, let me add in too here. I saw Daniel said Mason instead of Macon. So here, let me help out here, and I can find a way to add in the parts. Yeah, there we go. Participant's name in here. So
there we go.
there we go. So yeah,
Mason
guys.
works. It's fine. I know what you were
That's
saying.
okay. Yeah, no, it's all good, brother. No big deal. Just that way it makes it a little bit easier for those who are newer here to kind of know who's who and all that jazz. So
Is
make
here
this
how you know
kind
how
of
you know,
good
guys?
idea.
I'm going to say it one time. It's like bacon, but with an M. I've been called Macon Bacon my whole life. So now you
Yeah.
guys know. There you go.
Yeah. Now it's all good, Daniel. Not giving you a hard time whatsoever. It's actually probably not a bad thing because if we have if we have new people here, want to not who's who and all
Yeah,
that jazz. So not a
good
bad
idea.
idea. So but again, the one thing which I want to say though too is which is kind of a funny thing here is what a low key backdoor spread cover by DeQuavian Smith there at the end with that half court shot. I
Yeah.
think State was what a
What?
3.5 point
3.5.
underdog and so to hit that 3-pointer and lose by 2. So anybody who bet on that game for State saying was very happy to see that crazy shot there
Yeah.
at the end. But yeah, again, just the issue is there's so many different things, whether it's that unfortunately just Duanu, even though he's solid and is definitely obviously better on more productive on the defensive side, he just isn't really able to do much on the offensive side, and then
He took
Ernest
0
Ross,
shots.
yeah.
0 shots.
So he's just not even like getting the ball, and then also too on top of that, that even like guys like Ernest Ross, again, I mean he's still a true freshman, he's still not doing much, but and then also too like Cam Hayes, he played 15 minutes yesterday, and he shot 1 for 4, and then the last game I think he was like 0 for 6 from the field or something like that. Like,
Yep.
I mean, like we
I
said
didn't
in
even
our
think, yeah, and I didn't even think about it when I mentioned it because he just hasn't. Those guys haven't done much. He didn't even
hasn't.
come to my mind for some reason. I like Cam Hayes preseason, and it's just kind of like I didn't even think of it when you
It's
asked
just-
me the scores. It was just because he's not really doing much.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Helms was 1 for 4 with 8 points. He played 29 minutes. Duano didn't attempt a shot, fouled out in 29 minutes. If those guys are obviously they're going to start because they have to, but you just have to get more production out of that. And
So you got
this was the first game that Cam Hayes didn't start, I believe.
I think so, yeah, because this was the first start for Thomas Allen. So
Yeah.
I would say, yeah,
Tom Allen's
that's the
been
case.
shooting well. He has been shooting well
He did,
lately. He's
yeah.
kind of gotten out. And then we said some guys going to step up, but they need to step up more. Like I'm looking here at the averages. Cam Hayes is averaging 9.9 points per game, 2.4 assists per game, and that's good. You might want to see. I mean, that's pretty good number for your point guard. Might see a little bit higher in the points, maybe like 11 or 12. But Casey Morcell shooting 8.4 points per game. That needs to get better. Thomas Allen averaging 3.3 points per game. That needs to be better. Yeah, it's just to me, like you're right there with some of these teams. You're just not finishing, like you said,
Yeah.
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys are getting killed in the paint.
So again, it's just because again, Sebron is. I mean, so basically right now, Sebron, I guess, is serving as your point guard, but again, he's not a
Yeah.
point guard, he's not a true point guard. And so definitely not having that true quarterback of the offense definitely is hurting because again, I feel like we could use Sebron so many other ways, but unfortunately, with us having a real lack of a true point guard right now, he's kind of been asked to not only score the points, not only rebound, but also to lead the offense as well. So, and I know that somebody asked about, well, why didn't Ernest Ross play yesterday? And I mean, my only thought, and maybe making you or Michael, you can add to this, but I mean, I guess probably whatever Keith saw or whatever, something that he saw during the Miami game, he wasn't really a fan of, I guess. But I don't know, for him to get
don't know.
0
Yeah.
minutes yesterday, I mean, it's who knows. And
I was trying to find the tweet. I don't know who it was by, but Sebron had 7 assists yesterday because he basically played the point. And I want to say most of them, if not all 7, were like kickouts to Terquavian for 3 because he was 7. Oh, here it is. What did it say? Yeah, all 7 of Sebron's assists versus Florida State resulted in 3-pointers, including 5 from Terquavian, who hit 7 in the whole game. So, that combo works. The two of them, it works, but it's just you don't get anybody else.
Well, can you imagine too if you have another, like if we had so obviously DeQuavian Smith he could shoot 3 ball. Could you imagine if we had another guy who could shoot 3 ball, where basically we could just have
should be Marcel, should be Helms, should be Allen.
And if we could literally just have Sebron run to the basket, have everybody collapse on him, and then him have all these options. Okay, dish out to this guy, dish out this guy, dish out this guy. But he doesn't. Right now, we literally just have DeQuavian Smith and Thomas Allen, kind of. But but so I would say between, unfortunately, Cam Hayes and Helms, actually, I would say are my 2 biggest disappointments right now.
For sure, Helms for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, again, I don't really want to say here too much necessarily in hating on Keith per se, but I mean, definitely the 2 things which comes to my mind is, first of all, obviously the timeout, which I know everybody is talking about. Where he called the timeout when Sebron was driving to the basket, and he basically made in a comment out in the post game that if he had the same choice or if he had the same situation, he would do it again. And I'm not necessarily thrilled by that comment. I will be honest about that. But again, just my issue is necessarily is not only that you called the timeout, but also to what you did after the timeout. So you're telling me that the what you drew up was basically from the way Helms handled that ball. It was obvious that basically Keats told Helms, give the ball to Sebron. There is no other option. Give it to Sebron. Yeah. And when it's like, well, and that's the case scenario where he is literally double teamed. We're literally like Sebron and the Florida State defenders were closer than my hands are right now. Like they were all over Sebron. And you're telling me that, I think it was like Marcel and Allen were in the game. You couldn't give it to them, worst case scenario. Because also the thing too is that if you threw it to Sebron, he's catching in the backcourt, going towards the backcourt. There's 8 seconds left. So that's going to take 3 seconds off the clock for him to get back to the front court. And so basically what you're telling me is that probably more likely his only other option would be to drive to the basket like he already was going to do before he called the timeout. So
I don't have a problem with the timeout. I mean, like when Sebron got that rebound, he drove down there and he drove right down to the other end of the court, and he was swarmed. So people saying, he should let him play. It may not have been a good shot. It would not have been a high percentage shot. So I don't mind the timeout. You've got 8 seconds left in the game. Use it.
Yeah.
So they did. Yeah. My problem is the lazy inbound pass. It was like having multiple options there. And I remember it was Helms and then Sebron. And then there's the 3 guys standing right there in the paint. And they're not even moving. They're just like standing there. And I get they're probably run a play. But if I remember what I remember seeing was that I watched it today. As soon as the ref blew the whistle, gave the ball to Helms, he immediately passed the ball out. He didn't take a second to look. He just kind of, got the ball. Here you go. He just was like, okay, we know you want to have the ball in the best player's hands, but to me again, that was giving the game away. It was like, hey, everything you do has to be detailed and it has to be accurate. And he didn't make a good play by a veteran player. So you can't get mad. I'm glad he didn't put a freshman there, because then we'd be saying, oh, why did he give the freshman to inbound the ball? Right. He needed Helms made a I don't know.
Yeah.
Bonehead play. He just made a bad pass, and
Well-
I don't like the fact that it was like a automatic. I'm going to get the ball here, and
Well, that's what I mean.
it
forced
should have
it
been
to
like
him.
should have been Morcell or somebody coming up and at least inbounding the ball and then getting it to Helms. But
Yeah.
I mean, getting it to Sebron, but he didn't have. But like at that point, it would be like what 6 seconds left on the clock, and Sebron would have to go.
Everybody knew
just
the
like I was
last
saying.
Sebron was going to take the last shot. So why are you going to force it to him on the inbounds pass? Like,
And there's 2 guys
That's
on
into
him.
somebody
There's 2
else,
guys
yeah.
on him.
That's what I mean. Yeah, again, they were literally closer. I mean, they were all over Sebron. So again,
Yeah.
that's why again, I think all of our issues isn't necessarily with the timeout because even Old State Boy says,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it basically piggybacks off and make a statement basically saying that if Sebron drove to the basket, even though in the post game press conference Sebron said if he wouldn't have called the timeout, he felt like he could have scored that. Well, yeah. I mean,
he's gonna
any
say that.
player,
He's
if-
gonna say he's gonna
again,
say
he's
that.
going to say that.
And
He's
he
going
probably
to say
could
that.
No, I
put
would
it-
have missed it. He's
Sure.
not gonna say that.
Yeah, I know. Thank God Keats called the timeout. Otherwise, I would have missed
Yeah.
that shot. Like, no, of
I had
course
no
not.
idea what I was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Haven't
So-
done
so
that
the
a
issue-
million times already.
So the issue really for us shouldn't necessarily be on necessarily calling the timeout. It's more of what was obviously done after the timeout. Something should have been better, which again proves to I guess my worry of that maybe. And I think somebody said yesterday that Keats needs kind of like a Bobby Lutz assistant. You know, somebody
Bobby Lutz,
who
yeah.
knows the X and O's of basketball like the back of their hand.
Well, I
just-
do think James Johnson is like that. He was a bad head coach at Virginia Tech, but he was a good assistant coach.
Yeah.
To me, it's everybody else. It's I don't know who the other guy. I can't remember the guy's names, but it was.
Yeah, I don't even know the other one's
it's-
name besides
It's
James
basically
Johnson.
it's me, it's James Johnson, and everybody else. Everybody else has James Johnson probably should go, in my opinion, because.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like James Johnson, even when you see the recruiting stories, it's very rare when you see. I think Mike Sumney is one of the other coaches, if I'm not mistaken. Sumney. I think they need to, even recruiting. James Johnson is the closer. He's the main recruiter, and he's probably your best coach too. So,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. But again, so again, I think, and we said yesterday as well, that at the end of the day, more than likely, Keith's is going to be the coach for the rest of the season, unless we just absolutely fall apart.
He's the coach. He's the
which-
coach the rest of the season.
Yeah.
He's not getting fired.
But the only reason why I'm saying that is because I mean we have lost 6 out of the last 7. So assuming
Yeah.
that like we don't ever figure anything out,
No,
then it's like
he's still gonna
okay, holy
finish.
smokes. So again, so Megan's saying it here first. He's not getting fired. So if that's the
Because
case
think about it
then-
again,
then-
after the whole NCAA thing too, they're going to give him respect to at least finish the season. At the very least, if Boo were to do that, I'd be like, dang, dude. But he's not doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well,
He's not doing that.
and especially again, I do want to say it again that Debbie has been very public that
Mhm.
that her thought and her opinion that Keats needs to be given some time now. So again, I do think that I say yesterday, at the end of the day, we need to support these guys. I know all state fans will. At the end of the day, support these guys through and through. Let's hope for the best and hope that we could turn this around again. I mean, it's not necessarily saying that this season is a lost cause. At the end of the day, there still is opportunity here, and we still have the guys to pull off some big wins this season. We do. But again, it's going to take a little bit. Let's put it that way. It's going to take a little bit, but
Yeah.
but then in the off season, there should be some tough conversations. I definitely I'm hoping that Keats makes some moves a little bit more on the coaching side. Bringing in maybe some other options on the assistant side. But again, that's not necessarily what we want to do. We want to try and be the upbeat here, the positive. Because again, I mean, hey, it's. I guess it could be worse. Somehow, some way, it could be worse.
Could be worse.
So anyway, I guess kind of moving on. So again, just as a reminder, again, we're doing our live stream Tuesday night. Game starts at 7, but we'll go live at 6:45. So make sure to join us here on this channel. Again, basically we'll react, discuss the game live here in person, all of us all together, just like this. But and again, it'll be a lot of fun. I know a lot of people joined us for the Miami game. It seemed like it was a great time. So make sure to join us then. So kind of I guess piggybacking off here. So obviously, first thing I want to say is a side note too. Did everybody catch that Antonio Brown thing tonight? I gotta mention that because that was
dude's insane.
crazy.
That dude, he was given opportunity, blew it. I don't know what happened, if anybody said anything, but if anybody gives him another opportunity like that in the NFL, they're going to get what was coming to him. That was a bad move by him.
Yeah. No. Again,
You
I
don't
know
leave. You
we're
don't leave your team in the middle of the game. You don't
yeah.
do that.
I mean,
Yeah.
he-
We're not gonna
I
spend
think
we're not gonna spend too long on this, but I just wanted to mention that because that was crazy right before we got a live stream that I saw that. And I was
Totally
like,
overshadowed the
holy smokes.
comeback the Buccaneers had. So, anyways,
Yeah. 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 No.
yeah. Well, they already said he's not on the team anymore. So
yeah, they've already cut him.
Yeah. Well, and again, the only reason why he was even given opportunity is because Tom Brady basically took him under his wing. So,
yeah.
so yeah,
He
no,
gave him
he's
another
done,
chance. Gave him another chance. That's
and
all it was.
he's done. Unfortunate, but you know,
I think he's got other issues besides just like football drama too. So
Can we speak
That
out
is-
of my Jamar Chase for the Bengals? 63.6 points in PPR fantasy football. I had him on my team. Just saying. Okay, goodbye.
That's insane. No, that was insane. I don't know what Kansas City was doing.
Let's
but
not
they
turn this
obviously
into
said-
an NFL discussion. I just had to
No.
say, holy
no,
crap.
but it is championship
No.
weekend in fantasy.
It is championship weekend. I know a lot of people here, including ourselves, we're keeping an eye on that. But anyway, so yeah, so obviously, one big thing too is I saw that baseball that we came out. I saw in the preseason rankings we were put as number 8 in the country.
Yeah, was that
preseason.
an official poll or was that just like a Twitter account poll?
That was
I wasn't
the
sure.
NCAA. The NCAA tweeted that out. So I mean,
Okay.
again, but again, if we learn one thing, especially with baseball, is that it's a lot of there's not necessarily a one like for I'm sorry for football. There's AP poll and then the coaches poll. But then we all look at the AP poll. Coaches poll is kind of not really looked at.
I
But
don't
like with-
understand the coaches poll either because it's like you're coaching your team,
Yeah.
and if you're not, how can you judge the other teams that aren't on your schedule? Like,
Right.
shouldn't you be
Well,
focused on your team?
right. Well, and I'm sure probably a lot of them say, okay, well, let's see what the AP poll was last year and let me like move a couple teams maybe. And okay, yeah, this is my poll. But anyway, but yeah, for baseball, and again, especially too, because obviously it's so tough to really see what you have, especially like for NC State, for example, where we did lose a good amount of our team, specifically on the batting side. So I mean, and obviously they looked good against Duke, but again, it's going to take some games for us to really figure out what we really have, especially from the batting side. When I say and I'm saying games because again, it's going to take 10, 15, 20 games to really figure it out. It's going to take a little bit. Again, baseball season is a long
Baseball's
season.
long.
So so again, we got time on that there. But Greg mentions the only poll that matters is the college football poll, college football playoff poll. Yeah, I mean in football, yes. I mean, yeah, there at the end. And Beck Wolf Pack 813 says hi Phil for DH. I hope not. If we're putting up DH, then we really got problems. But I mean, I like where your head's at though, because I mean the guy was a superstar in the Pac-13 game, so I get that. But hopefully, we're not
750
relying on him
all-time
as
batting average.
yeah, yeah. But he is the reason why in the record books it says minimum like 100 at bats or something like that. Because holy smokes,
I think the big thing is going to be like the transfer stuff coming.
Mhm.
That's who I think, and like the guy from Charlotte. I'm trying to think. Is it begins with a P? Paloli. And then who's the guy from one of the Ivy League schools? Josh Hood, I think is the guy's name. Yeah, at Penn, UPenn. I think some of these guys are going to be big contributors immediately, and I think that freshman Tommy White is going to be a big contributor as well. So hopefully he can replace those guys.
Yep. Yeah. So, but again, I think again it should be a very exciting season, at least because of the fact that we know what we have from the pitching angle, and again, especially too with some young guys, I know we're very excited about. I mean, again, it should be an exciting year, and also too, obviously, we are going to be doing a baseball preview here over the next couple of weeks. So definitely make sure to keep in touch. And again, we'll be doing a preview, and we'll actually bring on our very own Rod Chimra as well and dive in a little bit more. So definitely stay tuned for that. But then also too, yeah, obviously one of the other big piece of news today or yesterday was the addition of Shane, our new punter, or I guess a new punter for us. And I think it was Benjamin Ormond even mentioned about how we already have a punter that's on roster, and so why do we need another one? Well, my initial immediate thought about that was, well, competition, but also too that obviously, I'm guessing more than likely if he went after a punter, that means that basically he wasn't necessarily thrilled about what he had or what he saw during practices this season
Right.
to really rely on him. So, so within day again, it is what it is. So, but I mean, solid stats for sure. I mean, I think like 30 of his 81 punts were down inside the 20, something like that. So again, hey, adding on to punter you, Old State Boys is punter you, adding into punter you here with AJ Cole and definitely going to be Trenton Gill here.
I don't want to be known as punter you, man. That just sounds bad.
Oh,
You
yeah.
think Gill gets drafted? Like, how many of the best punters get drafted every year? I wonder.
I thought that last year, then the guy got punter drafted highest in the 5th round, I think, which is like still crazy to me. But
That
I think
guy
I still
from-
remember who's the guy from the Colts punter's name.
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee, his speech when
Yeah.
he had the draft pick that one time where he was like, he was in Nashville. He goes, you guys probably don't remember me because we never really punted against Tennessee and because we were always scoring after that. It's awesome.
He's
So,
funny.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
I mean, the San Diego State punter might go in the freaking second round.
Yeah.
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 It's gonna be Gill or the other guy, and it's probably the other guy. He's probably number 1. Gill's probably 2 or 3 somewhere there. Maybe somebody else I'm not thinking about. But you bring in a guy like I think the guy's last name was Dunna, the punter that we brought in.
McDonough. I think.
No,
McDonough.
it's not McDonough. I think was it McDonough, the punter's last name?
I don't know.
But it was
Shane's
he's a
last
guy-
name?
Shane Dunna. Is it Shane Dunna?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
confirm it.
but you bring in a guy like that because why not look at the transfer portal? You lost a starter.
Yeah.
Go see if you can find another surefire starter. Bring in the best guys you can, especially next
Mhm.
season when you think you could have a great season. If you don't think the other guys are just ready enough, go get them. So I don't mind that pick. And everybody Doran's brought in as a transfer, for the most part, has been a starter.
Pretty good. Yeah.
If he wanted him, I'm all for it.
Yep. No. Well, and especially too, and one thing which I want to say too is you mentioned where does punters. Well, so I remember I think it was a Florida State kicker that was there during Florida State's national championship season, and I think he actually got drafted in like the 4th or 5th round or something like that. He went to Tampa Bay and ended up being a bust. And then his Aguanu, yes. Aguayo. Yep, that's it. A guy, or Roberto Aguayo. Yeah, he went and he ended up being a bust. So definitely hilarious there. Yeah, everybody's trying to spell out how his Aguayo. Yeah. But yeah, definitely also too. I completely guys. Old State Boys says, guys, Ben Finley is our punter. I completely agree. That dude, yeah, I think it was he had like 2 points, that he actually were really good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, hey, quarterback you, punter you, I mean, but hey, we'll take it, we'll take all the accolades we can get.
It is funny. I like that a little bit.
Yeah. So that was definitely a big piece there, but yeah. So and then obviously women's basketball is still killing it. She's there. I mean, they're still doing their thing, and I know we actually have on our schedule. We're going to be doing a watch party for the women's game versus Louisville. We try to typically do away games because obviously if they're home games, we're hoping that people are actually at the games watching them instead of watching us here on YouTube, obviously. But since that game is so big, and obviously it's at Reynolds, which only holds 5,500 people, hopefully there's going to be a lot more people which are going to have to be sitting at home watching it that we can talk about here on YouTube. But I mean, it's great to see, first of all, that obviously Alyssa Cunane is getting back into her ways. I think early in the season it was not necessarily like a worry per se, but it was just like seemed like that she was trying to knock some rust off a little bit from the offseason, trying to get back rolling a little bit here, and she definitely has found that. So, and then obviously Diamond Johnson. So looks like team's still killing it. I think that it's pretty much going to be the team's going to be taking care of business until we face Louisville here later this season. And then one other thing too I wanted to mention while we're on here live is so Friday, and this might come a little bit of shock here, but women's gymnastics is competing at Carolina, and they're competing in a quad dual meets, meaning there's going to be 4 teams there. One of the teams is going to be Auburn, And Auburn has, for those who don't know, I think her name is Suni Lee, who
Yeah,
was the gold medal
Mhm.
all around gold medalist in gymnastics for Team
For the Olympics.
USA for the
Yeah.
Olympics, for the Winter Olympics, or sorry, Summer Olympics.
Summer.
And so she is a freshman for Auburn, so she's gonna be at Chapel Hill competing against us, somebody else, and UNC. So I know my wife is a huge gymnastics fan, so I mean she won't gonna miss the opportunity to go see Suni Lee in person, but also to support state at the same time. So make sure if y'all can, if you don't have any plans Friday night, to go get some tickets. I know the actually limited tickets remaining, which is ridiculous for a gymnastics meet that there would ever be limited tickets remaining. But definitely make
Yeah.
sure if you can be there, because I mean, again, you're going to watch a gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist in person, which is ridiculous. On top of supporting NC State to hopefully do some great things here, but Justin says, "See you there, bro. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you
We
there,
should
man."
turn the gymnastics into like a wrestling environment. Whenever they land, you're like, yeah,
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 let's
that'd
go
be awesome.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
no.
did it. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, no, I would love that. But unfortunately, we actually did a interview with Kim Landris, who was the gymnastics coach some months back. And the one
Yeah, I remember
situation which
that.
I was
He's like,
telling
yeah.
her, and this kind of funny story here. So whenever my wife would take me to in-state gymnastics, like most of the time we were competing against Carolina. And so there would be times where like, they would do the uneven bars, which, basically the two bars and they're flipping all around them and stuff like that. And there'd be times where the, UNC gymnast would miss the bar and fall flat on the mat. Well, so me being a state fan and us being a competition here, I'm going, yeah, let's
Yeah,
go,
you just ate it.
Right.
because I could, but everybody, but like
That's
my wife was like
hilarious.
hitting me, going, quit it, you can't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, are we not trying to win here?
golf.
I don't understand. Like, what are so what are you telling me that like when somebody gets mossed in football, we're supposed to feel bad? Oh, poor guy, he just got mossed. Like, no, I
Yeah.
mean, like, suck it, like whatever it is. So,
Yeah,
but Cam
rub his
Landers,
face in the dirt.
so basically I explained the story to Cam and she basically told me, she was like, yeah, no, unfortunately
Yeah.
gymnastics, it's a little bit different.
an
You can't
etiquette
really
to
do
it.
that. There's an
It's like
etiquette.
golf.
I'm watching
Gotta
like,
be polite.
"Ugh, okay, coach, fine. That's what it takes." So
Greg, they're
yeah.
not going to throw you out, man. You've already got a broken leg. You should be like, "Hey, I'm a handicapped guy. You can't do that." To me.
You can't
Yeah.
throw the handicap guy out. That's so
Yeah.
true. Oh, that's funny, Greg. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I wanted to throw that out there, but yeah. So again, I think and one of the things too, obviously want to talk a little bit here about Thayer coming back, because I know we're still waiting on really two people here, and then first one being Devin Carter, and the second one being Chris Dunn. But obviously the news of Thayer coming back wasn't really a shocker to me per se, because I mean I know that Drake was pushing at him hard to come back. Hey,
Yeah.
let's do this one more time together and let's win a championship here in our hometown. And so I'm not necessarily shocked by him coming back, but what are y'all's thoughts on Devin coming back at this point?
Go ahead, Michael. What are your thoughts?
I think he will. I think he should. I mean, he'll be able to get the take a Messi spot. And I mean, obviously you still have Thayer and Porter Rooks and some of the younger guys, but I mean, Devin Carter really should be the number one option there at receiver. I think he can prove a lot more for his draft stock, but I don't know. I also wouldn't be surprised if he did announce he's going to draft.
And by the way, too, breaking news too. So Shaheem Battle announced a little while ago that he's coming back, which honestly I didn't even know that. I honestly didn't even know that he was. I didn't even know that was I thought he already was coming back. Because did he even walk on senior day? I don't remember seeing him on senior day. But
I think it means he came back. It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah,
I also thought he was too young, but I guess
it was kind of like remember when Thayer Thomas said he wanted to come back and play with his brother, and then Drake put up a
that was funny.
He was
too.
like,
"Oh, by the way, I'm coming."
I guess everybody knows. I guess my brother told everybody I'm coming back, just in case everybody was wondering, and that was kind of funny.
Yeah, but, that was funny.
No, I thought I saw that Max Fisher, a receiver that people don't probably not know, he's made a couple plays here and there, more so on special teams. He's transferring. And it's kind of as expected. The to me, again, I think the biggest surprise for me so far has been Terrell Dawkins, defensive end. But it doesn't shock me, but it's like, or doesn't just completely floor me. It's just like, okay, well that stinks, but you still got a bunch of defensive linemen that are good. And then I think the word is that one of the freshman defensive ends, Trevally Price, is really good. So he might be on the 2 deep next year. So it's just part of it. But I think that it's setting up well for next season. Things seem to be progressing well. I'm glad to see Icky go pro. I'm glad to see, if Ricky wanted to go pro, I do still think Ricky should have come back. I think Bam should have come back. I don't think. Well, Ricky couldn't have. Could Ricky have come back?
Yeah, with the COVID.
Yeah, he could have.
So I thought that basically to me, you shouldn't leave early unless you're like a surefire, like minimum third round pick. But that's everybody's got their own agendas. Some guys want to make money for their families. I get that. So I just think the money will be there if you're good enough. Again, for running back, you get injured more, make money while you can. I get that. So, but I think the seasons are shaping up well for everybody in off season.
Now, the one thing which I will say with Devin Carter is that he's definitely been a closed book, or at least from what I've been able to tell in terms of, whether he's leaning coming back or not. But I know that basically his issue was his targets that he was receiving. That was his issue, was that the targets he was seeing was kind of up and down. But again, I think any State fan would immediately tell him, like common sense goes, okay, well, Emeka Mezu's leaving. You're playing in the same boat, where you're an outside receiver just like Emeka. Emeka's gone. So you're going to get more targets. It's not even a question. Right. So Greg asked, if he doesn't come back, do you see him going pro or transferring? I see him do both. Again, I mean, unfortunately, at the end of the day, these are kids, and again, I have to remind everybody that these are 18 to 24-year-old kids, that are making, these decisions. And so at the end of the day, whatever decision Devin makes, it's his decision that, if he does transfer, so be it. The last thing anybody, I really want
receivers talent.
Yeah, we have options, but also too, the one thing which I want to say is, again, we shouldn't tear him a new one just because he makes a decision. Then he's trying to make a decision that's best for himself and his family. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But
I think a lot of I was on just looking at like Bam, because he was probably the biggest one that was up in the air. Like everybody kind of knew Icky was going to go, but Bam, who was up in the air, and everything, all the comments and stuff on his were like completely positive. So that was good to see.
I would love to ask Icky though what made him, because I think that everybody knew he was going to go pro. So why didn't he maybe just do something like before the bowl game, going, hey guys, I'm going pro, but we're going out with a bang. I want to come back and I want to play. We're going to play and get this 10th win. Something like that. I'm curious. Just like
maybe didn't want to distract, but
I would say put more hype on it. Guys, I'm gonna play in the bowl game. We're gonna get our 10th win. Watch it. Something like that. But
that's true.
That's a good question. I like Old State boys. Who will be the kickoff returner
next year? Not Thayer. You can't do Thayer. No. You gotta do
Julian Gray would be an interesting choice. I do like that a little bit.
Yeah,
that dude is fast.
Yeah, to be honest,
Anthony Smith.
Nah.
Well, see, because here's my thing. Here's my opinion on kickoff returners. If it's not somebody who was electric, like Bam Knight, he was an electric kickoff returner. So I would definitely put him back there. But unless he's electric, like if he's like so-so, I'm not going to put one of my big name starters in the kickoff spot. Because again, there's people running at you full speed. Whether it's taking at the ankles, taking at the knee, big hits, something like that. There's a lot that can happen on kickoffs, and so it made me nervous. But the only reason why I wasn't nervous having Bam back there is because that dude was a return fanatic. He was ridiculous returning the ball.
I still think the greatest returner we've ever had is TJ Graham. That dude was unreal. But, I honestly, I do think. Bam was like second best we've had in a long while. So
in a while.
Now, Old State boy mentions Thayer at punt return. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's put this. I wouldn't be surprised if they had somebody else, but like this year, like Thayer, he didn't really return the ball that much. Not necessarily to his own fault. Just Well, he didn't have. There
Well, he
weren't
was
that
back
many
there,
punt
but
returns
he
this
did.
year.
He
He
did
did a
call
lot of fair
interceptions.
catches this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Greg and Beck Wolf basically said, yeah, Naeem Hines in there too.
well,
But he was.
they're
True.
Did they do
they're
punts
both
and
track
kicks? I
stars.
can't remember.
Just kicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
TJ might have done punts actually, but I know Hines didn't. Hines just did kickoff. But again, then they're track stars. But again, TJ Graham is that dude. He's man. He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch. So it should be a fun one next year. And then Smith should be considered.
Yeah, maybe he can. Maybe
Anthony Smith.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
To me, he needs to be a guy who the hands you trust. Punting is the one
exactly.
that you want the hands you trust more. So Thayer should be
Yeah.
locked in at punt returner.
Mhm.
But it's gonna be very interesting. That's a great question, Old State Boy.
Yeah,
I
it should
like
be
that.
fun. But so with that being said, though, we've unfortunately kind of gone over a little bit of time here. So unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to end it there. Unless Maker Michael, do you have any more thoughts or anything like that? I know there's still some comments running in here. So
No, not the,
No,
really.
I
I
guess
just
not.
I'm really hoping that the men's basketball team can figure some things out because I'm tired of us losing.
Yeah.
I know they are more than I am. So
yes,
it's just I was curious to look back on what are the margins of loss we've had so far. We lost by 2 to Florida State. We lost by 9 to Miami. We've lost by
9 to Richmond. We
to
lost
Richmond,
the
so
biggest loss. The biggest
single
loss we
digits.
had so far was by 14 to Wright State. That was our biggest loss so far, which was a head scratcher.
Can't believe that. But anyways,
Yeah,
But it does feel like we've been in every game.
it does feel like that for sure. Well, especially the Purdue one, which we lost by 10, but we lost in overtime. So I mean,
to me, what it comes across with the team is like they're not clicking, but it's like they're not playing as well as the teams they need to be. Like because Sebron is such like he is their best scoring threat. He just has the ball in his hands all times, and he doesn't need to kick it out very much. And I feel like they're not gelling as well. But then again, you look at the numbers like assists, State out assisted for Florida State. So I don't know. It's just to me, it's getting killed in the paint, and it's other guys need to step up. They need to all step up regularly.
right?
Yeah, exactly. We've all seen them at different points, but
it's frustrating because basketball is personally my favorite sport. And I don't really follow the NBA or anything like that, but I love college basketball growing up here in Cary, and it's king here in the Triangle. So I hate when we stink, which has been often, but
Well, so 2 things though. Again, so first of all, make sure again tune in with us for our watch party Tuesday night. Again, we'll go live starting at 6:45. Games at 7 against Virginia Tech. So look forward to seeing everybody there. Second of all, too, if you all wouldn't mind as well, for those who were with us back when we were live on the other platform, I would love if you guys wouldn't mind DMing us directly, letting me know kind of what you guys were hearing. Like, was it, like going in and out? Was it very soft? Like, how was Making Michael sounding? Again, would appreciate that feedback, so that way we can make sure we can get that addressed. Hopefully before the watch party on Tuesday. So appreciate that. But make sure to, again, also as just a reminder to hit that subscribe button. Again, it's free to do. And also too, it actually helps. It basically helps you out. So that way you're actually notified whenever we release new content or we go live. So make sure to do that. And again, obviously I'm sure most people here, but just a reminder again, please give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. But thank you all so much. Everybody have a great weekend. Again, hey, we'll see you here in 2 days for our watch party against Virginia Tech. But hey, as always, go Pack, y'all. Hey, we'll see